Hi Dinesh, good evening. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing good too. Thanks for asking. So yeah, let's proceed with your introduction first, and then we will come up with your interview questions, and we will go through the resume as well.
Yeah, sure. I'm Dinesh Kumar. I have 4 years of experience in DXC technology, where I serve as DevOps engineer and analyst on infrastructure services, where I manage CI/CD pipelines using Jenkins and build in AWS infrastructure using Terraform and deploy the applications onto the Kubernetes cluster. And I manage Docker containers as well. With coming to version controls, I have some good knowledge on the Git and GitHub, and I have good knowledge on Ansible. And coming to scripting, yeah, I have prepared some basic shell scripting uh, scripts uh, in Linux, so, I mean, which on the Linux servers.
Yeah.
Coming to certifications, I have done AWS Cloud Practitioner and AWS SysOp Administrator as well. Yeah, this is all about myself, Manish. Yeah.
Okay. So talking about the AWS cloud, as you mentioned, so what all AWS services have you used?
In my work, in my daily work, I will be use. I mean, I have good hands-on experience with the EC2 instances, S3, VPC, gateways, virtual private gateways, uh, RDS for the database systems,
Okay.
and Lambda, and yeah, so CloudWatch also for the mounting purpose. There are some more
Okay.
things, but yeah, these are the
Yeah.
main
Okay.
services that I have used.
Okay. So you talked about the Lambda. So what are the backend services for the Lambda?
Backend services, uh, DynamoDB.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I have used DynamoDB as a backend service. Like whenever a event trigger, I mean from the S3 bucket or something else, so that the data will be triggered through the AWS Lambda and it will be stored on the DynamoDB.
Okay. So you have worked with the EC2 extensively, that's what you mentioned, correct? So
Yep.
I have deployed an application on my EC2, correct? And
Okay.
my EC2 instance is performing very slow. Like whenever I'm trying to log in, it's very slow. So how will you troubleshoot this particular issue?
So if it is a EC2 machine, is a Linux machine. Okay, let's say
Yes.
if it is a
Yeah.
Linux machine, uh, I'll use some of the tools which is available on the Linux machine. Those are like top, htop, or ps minus ef. So yeah, based on these tools, I will just verify which is the service consuming more CPU and memory. Accordingly, I will act on it. If it is a okay, let's say one service is consuming more CPU and memory, I'll check if the service why the service is taking more CPU and things. Accordingly, I will, if needed, I will kill the service by using the kill command. And if needed, I can restore the service also based on the application.
Okay. I have to launch a public EC2 machine. How will you
Okay.
launch? And what's the major difference between the public and private EC2 instances?
Uh, Basically, public instance, I mean EC2 instance, which is exposed to the internet through the internet gateway, where we have both public IP and private IP. But when it comes to private instances, we'll be having only private, where sits on private subnets, where we don't have the internet exposure through the internet gateway.
Okay. So how do you ensure that any of your EC2 instance will become public or the private? Like you talked about the subnets, correct? So how will you ensure
Yeah.
or how will you differentiate? So I have to create the infrastructure from the scratch. I have to launch
Okay.
the VPC, and within VPC only you can launch the EC2 instance as well. So how will you make one subnet as a public, another subnet as a private, and then your
Yeah.
EC2 going forward?
Yeah, basically, as you know, I mean, using the internet gateway, we will be attaching the internet gateway to the VPC to
Mhm.
allow the internet to the VPC by
Correct.
configuring the route tables, right? So in the route table, we will be adding the route for the internet gateway. So what are the routes? I mean, what are the subnets that are attached to the route table? Those will be configured as a public, where we can those subnets will accept the public, internet. Those which are not associated with the route table, yeah, those always sits on the private where we can't access through the internet.
Okay. So if you are experiencing any storage related issue on your EC2 machine, the Linux server, how will you fix that storage issue?
If it is a EC2 mission, yeah, EBS volumes, right?
Hmm.
So where my EBS volume is not does not, I mean, is not having enough capacity, then I will increase the volume size on the EB, I mean, EBS volume. So once EBS volume capacity is increased, I will be logging to the EC2 instance. I will resize that particular mount that I increase the volume on the EBS volume, right? So that is how I can increase that volume if it is crossing the threshold.
Yeah. If you have to monitor the thresholds for the CPU, for the memory of the EC2 instances, how will you monitor this?
In my project, we will be using CloudWatch to monitor the complete logs. If it is a CPU metrics or memory metrics,
Hmm.
anything that okay, like internet latency, throughput. So these are the some of the metrics that we uh, daily monitor using the CloudWatch tool from the
Okay,
AWS,
okay,
and we
got it.
trigger it
So
through
how,
SNS.
what do you understand by this CloudWatch log and CloudWatch events?
CloudWatch logs, it will collect, I mean, whenever you configure the CloudWatch for any EC2 instance, right, it will keep on monitor the metrics from the EC2 instance. Sorry, what is the question? What is a
CloudWatch
CloudWatch?
log and CloudWatch events.
CloudWatch events. Let's say if you configure some alarms, right, on the CloudWatch, if something, okay, so you configure some alarm, if one of the EC2 instances CPU is crossing 80%, then then there should be event should be triggered through SNS service. So that is the difference between CloudWatch logs and alarms. I mean the event.
Okay. Have you used topic in SNS?
Yes.
For what purpose? Like how you have done the integration part?
Uh, yeah, like most of the time I configured these topic SNS topic for the CloudWatch logs only. So whenever any threshold, if it is related to CPU, memory, or anything, right? So I'll be
Mhm.
creating the topic, and I'll trigger it using the SNS.
Have you worked with the CloudFormation as well?
Cloud formation, I'm aware of it, but I don't have any hands-on with that. Like
Okay. Mhm.
to deploy some Kubernetes cluster, right? So most of the time I have used CloudWatch templates, but yeah, so I did not have build the complete infrastructure using CloudWatch.
Okay. Okay. You have worked with the S3, correct?
Yes.
So if I have to provide temporary access to any particular object without making my bucket public, correct? For the security
Okay.
reasons, how can you grant access to me to object which is stored in a bucket and that bucket is being managed by you, like in within your AWS account? So how will you give the temporary access for a user to a particular object?
In S3, we have a feature called pre-signed URLs. Uh, so this to the object. So I mean, if you want to access, I mean, for the East S3 bucket, right? The completely public access is blocked. But still, if you want to access one of the object which is in the S3, we'll be using the pre-signed URLs for a set of period of time. So this is how we can achieve it.
What is lifecycle rules in S3 bucket?
Let's say in S3, like most of the companies, right, will be storing massive amount of data. It may be files, folders, blah blah blah, right? So, but whenever if you configure the lifecycle rules, let's say if you want to keep one file on a for some particular time period, we'll be configuring the lifecycle rules. Once the time period reaches, then the particular file will be deleted automatically without any manual intervention.
Okay, got it. So now I have three AWS account and three VPC in each AWS account, correct? I have
Okay.
to establish the communication between these three VPC. So you can think of like I have deployed one application in one VPC. That means on one EC2 within this VPC. Second, microservice, which is not the front end but the back end microservice. You can think of notification system, which is in second VPC. That is in second AWS account, and you can think of your card system, correct, which is in third AWS account within the third VPC. Now, your front-end application will make the API call to these two different applications which are running as a backend notification system and your card system or the order system, any of the microservice you can think of, correct? How will you establish the communication between these three applications altogether?
Okay, so those are different accounts, not on one AWS account, right?
Yeah.
We can achieve it using the VPC peering connection, but you said three accounts, so it would be good if we can use transit gateway, where we can attach all these three VPCs to the transit gateway. Then we can establish the communication with that.
Yeah, correct. So I have a EC2 application on which does not have access to the internet. Correct. And even you don't want to put any kind of net to get the access of the internet. Correct. Then you have to establish the communication with the S3 so that this application can pick up the some images which can be shown on your homepage of the application. Correct. How will you establish this communication?
Yeah, we can use the endpoints where we can, gateway endpoints for S3. By This is how we can achieve. The communication between the S3 and EC2 instances. We can
Okay, got it. What are
uh,
the different endpoints?
uh, get private endpoints and gateway endpoints.
Okay, so when you go to create this VPC endpoint, there you see the options to create your gateway endpoint, correct? That's what you mentioned. So is there
Yeah,
any other options, or with the help of gateway endpoint only you can connect with any AWS services? Like EC2 to S3, you created this gateway endpoint. What if I have to connect this EC2 with the Lambda function or to any other functions? Will you be creating the gateway endpoint, or is there anything else?
for the Lambda, right? Um, I'm not sure about the endpoints. I did not work on the endpoints much, but I'm aware of thing like by doing the API gateway. I'm not sure like what I'm thinking. Like if any of the server is there and if you want to access the S3, we can make a call. I'm not sure
Okay.
about that endpoints. Okay, that is fine.
Okay, so as I can see, you have mentioned in your resume that with the CI/CD automation, you have cut down the deployment time by 40%. So can you explain me how have you achieved this?
Yes. So basically, uh, in my Jenkins pipeline, so when I integrate with Git, right? So I'll
Hmm.
be using Docker image, Docker file with a lightweight base image just to make it easier. For with low size.
Hmm.
So and I will be integrating it with. When it comes to from the scratch, I'll be integrated with the start from the Git where we'll be pull the complete code from the GitHub. As my application is Java based, I'll be using the Maven as a build tool. So once we have the artifact, so we'll be scanning that with Scanner Cube and sorry, Trivi scan,
Hmm.
and we can use Sonar Cube to for the code quality test. So once the image is completely dockerized, and we'll be using the GitOps, uh, with the Argo CD. This is how I can achieve. I achieve to increase the faster
So,
pipeline and to deploy the application on Kubernetes.
okay, so with this process, you have reduced your deployment time by 40%. That's what you have mentioned,
Yes.
correct? Okay. How will you ensure the zero downtime of your application upgrades?
Okay. Basically, we will be going with blue-green deployment. Okay. In my Kubernetes thing. So
Hmm.
once we have a available. So we'll be creating some more servers, and once everything is configured right, we'll be routing the traffic to the newer version. So once everything is fine and no issues and no feedback received from the customers no negative feedback received from the customer, then we'll just keep it the routing the traffic routing to the new version application.
Okay.
We'll shut
Can
down the old
can we
version.
achieve the zero downtime upgrade with the rolling update as well? That
Yeah,
strategy.
we can achieve. So once, yeah, we can achieve with that Kubernetes rolling updates.
So when should we use this rolling update or the blue green? Like in which scenario we can use?
Uh, let's say if we have an application and uh, and if customer is no downtime, right?
Hmm. As you said
Okay,
that
so
both can be used for the zero downtime. So when should I use the blue green or and when should I use this rolling update?
yeah,
There
let's
should
say
there
if we
should
are
be some
having
differences. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to roll back your, let's say you once you upgrade your like application, if you have some issues faced, right, we can roll back to our previous version. Uh, so that then we can go with that, roll back or rolling, roll with rolling. But yeah, this is where we can use.
But your rolling update itself, it ensures that the moment your versions are not updated, correct? It's not in success state. It will not launch a new pod in the running state. Your previous pod will be handling the traffic, correct? So
Yeah.
even you don't need to do any rollback here, I think. Or if you want, like, as you, what did you mention? You are going to roll back to the previous version itself in case of success as well, or in the failure? Like, in what scenario you covered?
In case of failure, I can go back to that previous version
So
deployment.
in case of failure, your this particular strategy itself ensures that your the new pod will not come up because your previous pod is serving the traffic. So the moment your new pods are not ready to handle the traffic, the earlier pod will not get terminated, correct? That's how your rolling update works.
Yes, yes.
So
So
obviously,
like before
yeah,
next section, it will create.
yeah. So anyway, you are not going to roll back because it already it's serving the traffic. So yeah, you can yeah, go in detail about that. So you have mentioned about the AWS Carpenter. How are you utilizing this AWS Carpenter?
By using the AWS Carpenter, we'll be auto-scaling the nodes based on the traffic.
Hmm.
So we'll be using the spot instances to reduce the cost. So using the AWS, by configuring the AWS Carpenter on the Kubernetes cluster,
Hmm.
so it will make sure if some nodes are, if some nodes are not available, so it will make sure it will pull the nodes. I mean, it will create a new nodes, spot instances on the cloud. Yeah, that is how we will be using the AWS Carpenter in my project.
Okay. Have you worked with the Terraform as well?
Yes.
I have to create the infrastructure for three different environments you can think of: dev, staging, and production. How will you manage the state file for these and the configurations, everything?
Uh, if you are having three environments, we will be going with the workspace concept.
Hmm.
We'll be creating three workspaces for each environment. And when you are initializing Terraform, right, so it will create three state files in the three different environments. So this is how we can achieve that.
Okay. So, what is the benefit of using this Terraform over the CloudFormation? Or what is the pro and cons
Using
of both?
Yeah, so Terraform is just like idempotent, and it will tracks every resource which is on the infrastructure using the state file, and we can log its state. We can log the state file using S3 and DynamoDB logging. But in the CloudFormation template, we cannot build. We can build, but we cannot maintain that. The complete history, like in the complete configuration of the environment on the CloudFormation template.
Okay. So, I have created one VPC, and obviously, going with forward, I have the different resources as well, the EC2, the security group. Someone has changed the security group protocol, you can think. One rule of the security group, correct? Manually from the AWS console itself. And now, if you run the Terraform apply once again, how your pipeline will behave?
You mean to say like someone already? I mean,
I
someone
have created,
manually.
yeah, I have created one VPC. I have created EC2 instances. I have created the security group as well. In the security group,
Okay.
you will be creating this ingress and egress, correct?
Okay.
I have changed the ingress rules
Okay.
for from TCP to HTTP or different protocols, or I have just
Okay.
removed this particular rule. And
Mm-hmm.
now you run the Terraform apply once again. All this
Yeah.
infrastructure was created using the Terraform only.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I went there into the console. I changed the value, and now
Yeah.
you run the Terraform apply once again. How your pipeline will behave?
So once we run the Terraform apply command, right, it will just match the configuration based on the state file. So
Mhm.
whatever the configuration that we have on the state file, it will again update that, create that security group, I mean, modify the security group rules.
Okay. So what do you understand by stateless and stateful?
Stateful applications are like, standardized applications. So where we having the standard volume, standard network, and standard DNS. I mean, so this is how, like, let's say when we're having stateful applications, right? So this is where, uh, I mean, what is meant by stateful? But when we are having, multiple workloads in different like pods. So
Hmm.
that is where we call as stateless.
Okay. So I have 10 number of pods, correct? And I have to schedule uh, every each pod to the nodes which are available, correct? How will you do this kind of setup? Like all these 10 pods are getting scheduled. Like you can think of that there are 10 number of nodes which are running and there are 10 number
Okay.
of pods which are running. I have to ensure that all these pods should get distributed to equally on all over the nodes. One one pod per node you can think of, correct? So how will you ensure this?
We can use taint and tolerant uh, on the Kubernetes where we can schedule the pod on each node equally.
Okay. I have to deploy this Dynatrace agent. Dynatrace, have you heard?
Dynatrace, yeah, I heard about that in my company. Yeah, Dynatrace is a tool that
It's
most of the
APM
team
tool
use.
like for the monitoring
Yes, yes,
purpose,
but
correct?
I don't have any experience with Dynatrace.
Yeah, no issue. So I have to deploy this Dynatrace agent so that it scrapes the data from the nodes. Whatever the nodes we do have in the cluster, I have to scrape the data from that. And this data can be used for showing the metrics related to your CPU utilization, memory utilization, and the
Okay.
different metrics, correct? How will you deploy this particular Dynatrace agent so that it scrapes the data from each and every node?
Uh, we can go with the Helm package manager.
Mm-hmm,
So we can use the Helm to deploy. I mean to integrate that Dynatrace with our Kubernetes cluster. So
mm-hmm.
once we integrate that Dynatrace can pull the required metrics from the Kubernetes cluster. So this is how we can integrate.
Okay. Which kind of what kind will you use to deploy this Dynatrace agent? Like you will deploy it as a stateful set, or you will deploy it as a daemon set, or the deployment. What kind of deployment will you do?
I'm not sure about the Dynatrace, so I can't. I mean, I don't know about that. What kind of, I mean, what type of kind I can use for the Kuber. I mean, this
Okay,
Dynatrace.
okay, leave the Dynatrace. I have to deploy any of the monitoring agent you can think of, where this monitoring
Okay,
agent has to ensure that each pod should run to every node. If I am running this,
okay.
which monitoring team, tool I have used other than the CloudWatch? May I know?
Prometheus and Grafana.
Okay, so just suppose that you have to run the Prometheus, correct? On every node. You have to scrape the data using the Prometheus from your node. How will you do the deployment?
Uh, so I'll be using the Helm to integrate that Prometheus and Grafana to my Kubernetes cluster.
Hmm.
Once integration is done, yeah, so then Prometheus will pull the metrics, required metrics from the Kubernetes cluster, and we can access the Prometheus web UI and Grafana web UI. So using that, service.
So there will be some pod running against this Prometheus deployment when you will do the deployment, correct?
Yes, yes.
So how will you ensure that this all these pods which are running, or only one pod will be running out of the Prometheus? Like, how will you do the deployment? Only one pod will run for correcting the data from the nodes, or there will be multiple pods which will collect the data.
No, there will be multiple ports. Let's say if it is related to monitoring tool, there are some node exporters also, so
Hmm.
which needs to be configured on the nodes to pull the metrics if it is a Prometheus, and further there will be one more node for the, I mean, port for the Grafana also.
Okay. So you have worked with the SES as well?
Sorry,
SES, AWS SES, Simple Email Service.
no.
Okay. So I have RDS instances. You have worked with RDS, correct? That's what you
Yes.
mentioned before. So I have RDS instances for the production, for the test environment, for the dev environment. And I
Okay.
have to save the cost for the dev environment and the test for the test environment. For the production,
Okay.
it should be always available, correct? So that your
Mhm.
application can read and write. But for your dev and test, you can save the cost. When your developers are not writing your test, QA team is not doing any kind of testing, you want to stop the database. So what kind of a
Okay.
strategy you can implement here to save the cost?
I'm not sure exactly, but yeah, I did not work in that case. but we can achieve it by using Python and AWS Lambda. Uh, yeah,
Correct.
I'm not sure about the integration completely, but yeah, this is how we can achieve it.
So are you aware about the shared library in Jenkins?
Shared library, yes, not much. I did not have much knowledge on the shared libraries.
Okay. So let's come back to the Terraform. So your state file has been corrupted due to
Okay.
some reasons. How will you restore it, and how will you make sure that going forward it's not corrupted once again? The prevention kind of thing.
Prevention, like we will be using. I mean, we will not place store that particular state file in locally, right? So definitely we'll be keeping it under S3 bucket or some storage location. If okay, let's say if it is a S3 bucket, right? We'll make sure the bucket version should be enabled first. So even though something happens to the current state file, we can get back that state file using as we are doing the backup from the S3. So this is
Okay.
how we can achieve it.
Okay. So I have created a VPC, correct?
Mhm.
And that VPC has been created manually on the AWS console. Now you are supposed to write your one resource block for in the Terraform where you will
Okay.
be where you will be provisioning EC2 instance. Obviously, this
Okay.
EC2 instance will need some networking configuration related to your
Okay.
subnet ID and other details, correct? How will you pass it at the runtime without getting access to the AWS console? You just know the name of the VPC.
To read the existing infrastructure, we'll be going the data source block. Uh, so using the data source block, we can route the existing information. Then yeah, this is how we can achieve it.
Okay. Now you have two modules written, correct? One for the AWS VPC and second for the AWS RDS instance.
Yes,
So your RDS will not be created till the moment your VPC is ready, correct? Because
yes,
RDS needs the configuration of the networking.
yes, yes.
And both these modules are being called at the same time through one Jenkins pipeline, and both the modules are in the same file as well, so that it will be called at the same time. How will you make sure that both the modules run at the same time and they don't get fail? Considering the dependency of the modules, RDS has dependency on the VPC module. So how will you ensure the modules run independently? And once VPC is created, then
Like
your
we
RDS
can go
module.
with the dependence on block on the Terraform. So we'll make sure until the VPC is created, our days should not be deployed. I mean created.
Okay. So I have a disk space related issue on my Linux server.
Okay, okay,
And due to this, your Linux server is performing very slow. What kind
okay.
of troubleshooting steps will you take here?
I will check the disk utilization first by using the df minus h command. So I need to verify like which file system is consuming more. I mean, which file system is crossing like let's say threshold 80% or 80%. So accordingly, I will increase the size of the volume and I will bound that volume to the particular you know file system.
Okay. How will you make your application highly available and scalable?
We can go with auto scaling EC2. So once you configure the auto scaling, right, EC2 auto scaling, if some I mean we will be configuring everything from the scratch and like by using that image image. So if something huge traffic hits to that EC2 instances which is unable to handle, EC2 auto scaling will make sure it will create one more. I mean, if it is a horizontal auto scaling, it will create one more EC2 instance next to
What
it.
are the different policies which can be implemented in the auto scaling groups?
Scaling policies, let's say if CPU crossing like 80%, then we'll inform, we'll configure the rules, we'll mention that maximum and minimum and max
Yeah,
and
yeah,
issue instances.
I got that minimum, maximum, and the desired one you will configure. But are there any other policies in the autos, like when you will create this auto scaling group? So, is there any way to put some kind of policies where you can say that whenever my CPU utilization gets up to 50%, two number of servers should get increased, correct? Two more number of
Yeah.
EC2 instance will be learned. But if my CPU utilization goes up to 70%, 10 number of servers should get launched. So, is there any policy on which you can configure that up to 50% two servers should be launched, up to 70% 10 number of servers should be launched. If it reaches up to 90% of CPU utilization, 50 number of servers should get launched. So is there any
Uh,
such kind of policy?
yeah, but I can't recall it right now, as I did not worked on the auto scaling much.
Okay, no issue. So your pod is crashing again and again. You have deployed your application and your pod is crashing again. And how will you troubleshoot this?
So we will be checking the status of that particular pod first. Let's
What
say we
command?
will.
Yeah, what command will you use to check the status?
Uh, so let's say we will be using kubectl get pods. If
Mm-hmm.
it is some under some namespace hyphen n, we'll give the namespace name. So that is how it will list the complete spots which with the complete status. I'll check the status first. If it is a pending or crash loop, pull back off or image pull back off. So based on the status, I will check the kubectl, I mean the pod events and the logs. So I'll go with kubectl describe pod command to check the what are the events that have happened. So if I find any like some event name, let's saying that some configuration something else, it could be issue regarding with some misconfiguration on the application. Okay, if I see something on that image pullback off, right, most of the time it's because of the images lack of access or some misconfiguration on that environment variables. So this is how I will just troubleshoot if some pod is crashing out.
Okay. So you mentioned about the image pullback off, correct? So what
Yes.
might be the possible causes of this particular error?
uh, Maybe we don't have uh, proper access from the container registry. It may be easy or some Docker hub. So it could be one of the issue, and I think, yeah, this is one of the issue.
Okay. How will you handle the permission error on the Linux server? So you are going to execute some of the scripts which are available, correct? Or you can think of someone has created one script, that file is stored on the Linux server, and you are going to run that particular script, and
Yeah.
you are getting permission related error. So how will you troubleshoot this?
Yeah, so for any script file in the Linux server, we will be make sure that particular script should have executable permissions. I
Correct.
can update the permissions using chmod plus x and the file name. This will make sure that particular script file have enough permission to execute.
Okay. So let's come to the Git here. What is the difference between Git fetch and Git pull?
Git pull, it will just pulls the complete code from the GitHub repository, and Git fetch, it will make sure that so,
Hmm.
yeah, I forgot that actually. Yeah, I mean aware of it, but I can't recall at the moment.
Yeah, no sure. What is Blue Ocean in Jenkins?
Blue Ocean,
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the word.
Okay. If you have to manage some sensitive information in Jenkins pipeline, like you are storing some API key or the token, so how will you manage this sensitive information in Jenkins?
So in Jenkins UI, we have the feature called credentials plugin.
Hmm.
So where we will be storing all the credentials in the. We have many types on the credentials, so like username and password or a secret type or SSH key. So this is how I can manage my secret management secrets in the Jenkins.
Okay. What do you understand by VPC?
VPC, it's a private virtual private cloud. It's a isolation layer, I would say. I mean, whenever we create a VPC on any cloud, right, it will just create one isolation layer physically on the onto the data center
Okay, so
in the particular
just
region.
suppose that I'm not aware about the technical things, and now you have to
Okay.
explain me the VPC concept. How will you explain?
Okay. Uh, so I mean, when you are having the data centers, okay. So
I don't know the data
okay.
centers.
So basically, at least you know about what are the servers.
No,
Okay.
I'm completely non-technical guy. Just suppose that you are explaining the VPC concept to your grandfather.
Okay. So okay. You, at least they would know about something like application.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay,
Everyone uses the mobile. You can explain that way.
application.
Yeah.
Yeah, so okay, once he's, I mean everyone use mobiles, right? So I will start from there. from the application point of view. So I'll explain how this application that he is able to access from his mobile. So okay, okay, let's see he's accessing the application from the website.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I'll explain. So to deploy the application, we need a one physical box. It
Mm-hmm.
may be, I mean, in the
Okay.
older
Okay.
days,
Okay.
we
Let me change the question to make it simple, and you can go it.
yeah, some you asked me to
Yeah.
start from the scratch there, so that is the reason
Yeah.
we're just starting
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
scratch.
Yeah. You can. So, how will you explain the cloud to the same person who does not know anything?
Okay, if that is the case, uh, in older days, I mean, in the earlier modern days, we'll be having the data centers configured to deploy our applications, its servers, anything.
I'm not aware about the data centers. What is the data center? I don't know.
Okay. Uh, so again, so to deploy, I mean, to install any of the application, right? We need a device. First thing. Okay.
Okay, you can simply go with the Ola, Uber, anything, those all the rental things, correct? That's the
Yeah.
cloud. That's the basic cloud actually. You have a temporary, you have a permanent service. Out of that, you are using for some time, and you are just paying for that. That's the simple cloud model, correct? So very,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
or the rented house, you can say.
But you are talking about grandfather side, just starting from the scratch.
Rented house is the concept for the
Yeah,
grandfather.
that is
Yeah.
also fine. Yeah, that
You
is
use for
also
one, you use for
for
one
pay as
month,
you go
and you pay.
model.
Yeah, you use for one month, you pay the rent, and you go
Yep.
outside.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the layman word to explain actually.
Yeah, yeah, I got that. I got that.
Okay, so can we delete any image out of which my container is running?
We can delete the images even if content is running, but we
Hmm.
can delete it using forcefully. We cannot delete,
So what will
no
happen to the
automatic.
container if you delete?
Even if you delete the container, sorry, image, the
Hmm.
container will run. But if somehow the container is stopping, or if you want to restart the container, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, that's true. So I have to run any particular command on my Linux server, correct? Or the EC2 instance specifically, you can say. And I have to do it day after tomorrow as well, like on the daily basis, correct? I need to automate this process so that my whenever my EC2 instance becomes ready, all the prerequisites are already completed. How can you automate this?
Okay, we can go with the cron job to schedule the things on the Linux servers.
Have you used user
Let's say,
data?
yeah, user data also we can use, but user data, like whenever if you want to, I mean, launch an instances, right? Before the instance is launched, we can go with user data, and before the
Correct.
instance is launched, everything is
The,
gets ready.
yeah, the prerequisite is already ready.
Yep.
Okay. Any major challenges have you faced working as a DevOps engineer? And what
Yeah,
kind
as
of
you know,
learning
DevOps.
you? Yeah,
Yeah, so with the term called DevOps in there, every day we will face the challenges with respect to production issues or something else, access issues and anything. One of the recent issue that I have faced, like on the one of the Linux machine. So CPU disk utilization is reaching very high, even though we are attaching multiple volumes. So when we are digging into it, so there we came to know some application logs are due to some issues on the database. So it's creating a huge amount of logs where we could not identify it before increasing the volume.
hmm,
Like we have increased almost 500 TB as my application is a huge application, but still keep on every day it's throwing me the alerts on the email chain saying that this particular file system is crossing this much of thing. So
yeah,
later
okay, I
when
got
we
it. Yeah,
well,
yeah.